Hey guys, I'm here to talk about XEQT versus VFV or the VOO, which is the S&P 500, and why I believe that XEQT is probably better in the long run for the future for an investor like me that's looking for exceedingly good gains at 20 to 25 years old. And the reason that is because you have to look at the drawbacks of these bull markets, right? So, for example, if you're holding the S&P 500, let's say you have 50% in the S&P 500, you also have 50% in the QQCs, right? That's the NASDAQ ETF. What I've noticed here is because of these big companies have started getting so much cash, they've been making revenues crazy. The S&P 500 is slowly upper-weighting these companies. Now Nvidia is at 7.58, while the tech supposed to be tech heavy, Nvidia is at 8.5. Right. Another example: Apple at 6.6, Apple at 7.1. That's zero point 0.6 higher between the actual S&P 500 and the Nasdaq. Right. So another one, Microsoft at 4.92, Microsoft at 5.3, right? So there's not much of a difference, what I've noticed here, between the two. And I think that by holding both of these, if you do, like if you made the mistake like me, which it wasn't a mistake in the long run, but for the future here, guys, I mean, holding VOO or VFV with the Qs is more dangerous in my opinion. And that if you want to get the same returns as the S&P 500, XEQT does that exact job, but while not holding these big companies like that for those high weights that I'm looking at, right? So you can get the exact same returns, maybe better. Like in the last year, XQT has actually outperformed the S&P 500, while not even holding Nvidia at 7.8, Apple at 6.6, Microsoft at 4.92. Now the reason that is, guys, is so they hold XQT here holds different ETFs in it. It holds, this is XTOT, which is this one has Nvidia, like it's a fund at 20. I think it holds it at 25%, right? So Nvidia is held at 7, Apple at 6, Microsoft at 4. So slightly lower than the S&P weightings, but again, it's only at a weightage of 25%, right? So it's not 100% of the portfolio. Like the S&P 500 holds 7% of it in Nvidia. XUT is only 7% of 25%, right? So you're probably more looking at 2% of the total weighting of the ETF is in these companies in Nvidia, and then the 1%, and then 0. So you're really not exposed to these big companies because XUT is very diversified like that. Now, another reason it's done very well is because of this ETF here, XIC, which is the Canadian markets, TD, Suncor, RBC, TC Energy Corp, Enbridge. These have done exceedingly well in the last year for the Canadian markets. So I am slightly skeptical because of the run-up that they have had to believe that maybe that the returns will be the same. But again, it doesn't matter, right? Because we're trying to diversify away from that big tech. You can't just be all in on the big U.S. tech, because for somebody like me, I was in the Vanguard, I was in the Qs, and I also wanted to buy Microsoft, Meta, right? So that's one thing I noticed. Another thing here. So if we look at it, yeah, so VFV holds 503 stocks, right? The best companies in the US, while XEQT holds 9,000 stocks globally. So if we go back to the weightings here, you're getting shares of emerging markets. So whatever emerging, Argentina, whatever emerging markets that they have, they rotate to that market, and you're getting some of that exposure. Right. So this is a more diversified portfolio. You're kind of betting on, the Canadian markets to stay solid, and not just the U.S. tech. But that is completely fine, right, guys? Because you are holding the Qs. You can hold the Qs with XEQT, which I think is a perfect combination. You get exposure to these companies, but you're not doubling down by buying the S&P 500 that has the same exact exposure. I think the days of holding the S&P 500, it's not a be-all solution. You can invest for yourself, make your own opinions. If you look here, guys, in 2000 with this tech bubble here, this is the S&P 500. In 2000, 10 years later, we were still breaking even. So 2013, in comparison, this took 13 to 14 years. I mean, other than this little beat right here, because the financial crisis. But guys, it took 13, 14 years to get your money. You never know what's going to happen. If I had bought at the top here, like we could be at the top right now, right? Guys, you never know what's going to happen, and so you don't want to be fully leveraged or fully concentrated in a tech company. You never know what will happen to Nvidia, because Nvidia is held in all of these. So you want to have that diversification, and I believe that it's important to hold XEQT instead of the VFV or the VOO if you are holding the Qs, right? So if you're just in the S&P 500, sure, that's fine. But guys, if you're young like me and you wanted that growth and you still believe in the American companies, whatever, you can hold the QQCs, but make sure that you're not too fully leveraged with the S&P 500 as well, and maybe something like XEQT. I guess that was the point of the video, guys. So feel free to like, subscribe, guys. I'm going to keep pushing out videos like this because I really love doing them. And you guys subscribe, yeah, like, and then I got my TikTok below. So peace out, guys. Cheers, boys.